The maid puts on her new red dress. Putting on the necklace, she takes the lipstick she's been thinking about for a long time out of the drawer and dressed up her best self to show herself in the mirror. She doesn't know that outside the door, a man was staring at her. Mui saw someone outside the door. She rushed away from the mirror and hid. When Mui thought no one was outside the room, she walked out. They ran into each other again. When the man saw Mui's outfit, he turned around and left in silence. Mui was 10 years old because her family was poor. So she was sent to a rich family to work as a maid after a long journey. The lamra of this family was very gentle and kind. She took Mui to the old servant and turned away. With the sound of cicadas and the cool moonlight of the summer night, Mui thus joined the family. The man of the house, Le Pri, is a freelance musician. He is a man of few words because he only likes to play his instrument. In addition to the 3 sons born to the couple, there is also an old lady, La Violette. Since the death of their daughter 7 years ago, La Violette has never come downstairs again. La Violette stays upstairs all day to burn incense and worship. If it wasn't for the serious illness she had, she would be as old as Mui now. Although Mui was young, but she was a very hard worker. Everyone loved her. Lamra would let Mui sleep a little longer every day. When Mui wakes up, the old servant will teach her how to cook and some things that she needs to pay attention to. In case Mui would upset the host family, Mui's arrival took a lot of stress and work away from the old servant. Slowly, Mui's life became busy, but she was very happy inside. Mui especially liked the green yard that looked so green, the pleasant bird song and the ripe papaya. When Mui was bringing food to her wife, she overlooked the photo of the little girl on the morning hall. She stared at the photo for a long time before she left. All the people in the family were very nice to Mui. Only 10, the most naughty one in the family, kept teasing her. One day, Mui met Hyan, a friend of Thursday, the eldest son. Looking at this handsome and elegant boy, Mui couldn't help but cast an adoring glance. At this moment, her heart rippled like a breeze blowing on the sea. But the difference in status between them, Mui could only find out about a Mr. Hyan through the old servant. She was caught up in her own thoughts and couldn't help but smile. Lamra manages the silk shop. It is the source of income for the whole family. Le Pri spent his days in the world. He only indulged in his musical instruments and preferences. The family's second son, Juan, is quiet. He likes to read quietly. When he is bored, he drips candle oil on the crawling ants. Mui works hard to clean the house and wipe the floors. Tin, the mischievous one in the family, wreaks havoc when she scrubs the floor. He shakes the water out of the bucket with his foot until his brother stopped him from doing so. Only then did he scurry away in frustration. When Mui was hanging clothes in the yard, Tin dangled a gecko with a stick to scare her. He also deliberately threw Mui's wash towels on the ground and asked her to wash the clothes again. At that moment, an old grandfather passed by. He asked Mui about La Violette. Mui thought he didn't mean any harm, so she told the old man about La Violette's situation. In the following days, the old grandfather would often come to Mui. He confessed that he was La Violette's admirer because he was repeatedly rejected by her, so he could only watch the person he liked from afar. He hoped she would be safe and content. Mui was very touched, so she took advantage of the fact that the whole family was out. She asked the old man to go upstairs to see La Violette. They didn't talk to each other, but the old man was still very happy. The girl is sold into a rich family as a maid and is treated with a kindness she never had before. The lady of the house, La Moi, treats Mui as if she were her dead little daughter. The stifling heat of the night makes it impossible to sleep. Mui talked to the old servant. Mui said her father had passed away 3 years ago. She still had her mother and sister in the countryside. Curious, she asked the servant who the little girl in the photo upstairs was. Mui then learned that she was Laurie's youngest daughter who had passed away. This night Le Pri put on a suit for the first time and wanted to go out for a walk, but he did not return after curfew. Lamra realizes that something is wrong. She rushed to search and check the money box. Sure enough, there was nothing in the money box. This is the 4th time that Le Pri has run away from home. Each time he had to spend all the money before returning. A few days after Le Pri left home a few years ago with the family's savings, their daughter fell ill. Because the family had no money for medical treatment at that time, their daughter finally died. Le Pri felt that he was the one who killed his daughter, so he decided never to run away from home again. But only 7 years after this promise, he broke the vow he made before. Lamra was very upset by this event. She looked at Mui with sadness. If her daughter hadn't died, then she would be the same age and height as Mui. The loss of Le Pri left Lamra in a state of grief. She cried all night in her room. The business of the silk store was not good. The family was struggling to make ends meet because they had no money to pay. Their daily expenses, such as food, were becoming a problem. Lamra gave some money to the old maid. She tries to make sure that the family can survive for as long as possible. Ron hates his father for his irresponsibility. He took out his anger on books and ants. At night, he hears a noise in the attic. It turns out to be Fragility giving Lamra a lesson. She blamed Lamra for not being able to keep her husband on a leash. Lamra was speechless. She could only shed tears. Ram was very distressed by his hard-working mother, but he was too young. But the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. The papaya in the courtyard is ripe. The old servant taught Mue how to make a dish out of papaya. Mue cut open the papaya. Inside the papaya are many crystal clear seeds. During the meal, Tin asked, "When will my father come back?" Ron angrily left the table. Lama rushed after him to comfort him. Mother and son finally buried their heads in tears without words. After a few days of perseverance, the business of the silk store slowly improved. The family's rice that is filled again. The family's eldest son, Fragility, invites Mr. Hein to come to the house. Mui gets the news and decides to cook the food herself. She changed into her best and prettiest outfit. Mui also made herself look good and freshened up. When she served the food, the brief glance between her and Hein made Mui feel satisfied. She ducked her head in shyness. Soon after, Lara returned home without a word. But this time, he returned with a serious illness. It never rains, but it pours. Fragility also fell ill and collapsed. Lama sells the antiques and all the valuable things of the family, but she still could not keep Lapri and Fragility alive. The family is in mourning. Everyone was silent and helpless. Nothing could be done. 10 years have passed since then. Mui has grown up to be a big girl. At this time, she is still simple and kind. She likes to squat down and observe the ants on the ground. Lamra is now an old lady with white hair, but she still cares for Mui as if she were her own daughter. At this time, no one in the family is working to earn money. They spend their savings every day. The family's financial situation was getting worse and worse. Thursday and his wife have no choice but to send Mui to Hyen's house and work as a maid for him. Hyen's family is rich. The situation there is more suitable for Mui. The country girl is sold to a rich family as a maid from a young age. As she grows up, she becomes more and more beautiful and attractive. She pissed off the mistress of the house and married herself into a rich family. Mu's life became legendary, although Lamra could no longer afford the expenses of her family. But she was very reluctant to let Mu go. She passed on to Mu the dowry she had left to her daughter. Lamra thanked Mu for being there for her family for the last 10 years. Soon Mu packed her bags. She also took the 2 cats in their cages with her. Mu said goodbye to Lamra with great reluctance. When she arrived at Hyen's house to work as a maid, Mu adapted to the life here very quickly. The love she once had for Hyen was hidden in her heart, although she and Hyen seldom communicate with each other. But their relationship is very harmonious. Hyen is a composer. He often plays the piano at home. At the same time, he had a very clingy fiance. They often laugh and play together. The couple seems to be in a very good relationship. Mua didn't dare to imagine that she could fall in love with Hyen. She just tidied up her room every day. Washing clothes and cooking meals, she does her duty every day to be by the side of the person she likes. Mua was already content. One day, Mua found a lipstick when she was tidying up her bed. She carefully put the lipstick back in the drawer, but the deep red color was deeply engraved in her heart. Mio looked at the shoe that Hyen's fiance had left behind. She wanted to try on the shoe but didn't dare. For a poor child like her, wearing shoes was a luxury. On this day, Hyen was not at home, so Mua puts on the new dress that Lamra gave her. She put on a necklace and dressed herself beautifully. She went to the drawer and took out the lipstick that she had been thinking about. Mua shows her best side to herself. What she didn't know was that Hyen had already entered the house through the door. He looked at the carefully dressed maid with fascination. Suddenly, a different feeling came over him. Mua noticed that someone was outside and put down her lipstick and tried to hide. Hyen rushes into the room and goes after her. The two of them made eye contact at the door. Mua lowered her head timidly. They both had a crush on each other. After that, when Hyen's fiance came to see Hyen again, he had become somewhat resistant to her closeness. Hyen is sullen and often ignores his fiance. Sensing the change in Hyen, his fiance leaves in disappointment. She reluctantly watches her lover from the window. Hyen is playing the piano. Mua is cleaning up. There is no conversation between them, but the picture looks so harmonious. In the evening, Mua washes up and gets ready to rest. Hyen wandered outside the house for a long time. He thought about it but had the courage to go into the room. It was inevitable that there was some passion of a lonely man and woman. Hyen and Mua just couldn't help but come together. The next day, the fiance finds Hyen's portrait of Mua. She slapped Mua in anger. She smashed all the things in the house in anger. She proudly took off her engagement ring with Hyen. Her fiance turned around and left without looking back. Looking at the messy room, Hyen put the ring on the table into his pocket. He offered to comfort Mua. He handed her a book and taught her how to read and write. The two of them were free from the distraction of outsiders. The image of the two of them together is so beautiful. Summer is coming. Mu picked the ripe green papaya and cut out a small amount of shredded papaya for cooking, but Mu still liked the many crystal clear seeds inside the papaya. Soon Mu's 10-year relationship finally came to fruition. She successfully married Hyan. Mu gently rubbed her slightly bulging belly. Her face was full of silence and tenderness. Mu and Hyan are living happily together. They will spend every summer of their lives together. As a maid, Mu was of course lucky. She met a good master who treated her well, and she met a wonderful love. When a person is in awe of everything around her, it is only logical that she will also meet the best things.